Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jeff Reeves. I'm the Director of Safety here today, speaking with Leslie Andersen out of our Recruiting and Retention Office, out of the Wyndham Terminal.
Hi, everybody.
So, Leslie, how long have you been with Fortune Transportation?
4.5 years.
Okay. Is there anything else you did with Fortune before you moved into?
Yes, I started out at the front desk answering the phone, and then within that first year, I moved into the safety department, and I started working with Tony on the online training and some clerical stuff for the safety department, and then I started learning the ropes for driver recruiting.
Okay.
And here I am.
Great. So why is safety in general, why is it important to you?
Well, I think safety is the backbone of Fortune Transportation's success. We have won some safety awards, and our CSA score is very important to us. And since that is directly affected by what happens with the drivers, and I'm responsible for hiring safe drivers, I feel that connection and feel like it's my duty and my responsibility to hire safe drivers and try to thoroughly check their backgrounds and make sure that they're qualified for Fortune standards.
Okay, very good. So how does safety affect your job on a daily basis?
Well, for one thing, I have to run all the backgrounds and MVR and everything of every potential candidate, every single one that fills out an application. It's my responsibility to make sure they're qualified and meet our safety guidelines, which are given to us by our insurance company. And that's what I'm responsible to do every day. And if I cut those corners or don't do that, we could potentially get somebody in one of our trucks that shouldn't be in one of our trucks.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a risky potential.
A risky potential, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So is there anything that you think individually that you can improve on that makes safety a little bit better?
There's always room for improvement. I think that there's a tendency sometimes when you really want to make hires to try to make it fit instead of the other way around, and I just try to be aware of that and my tendency to do that, and so that I don't do that.
Right.
Stick to the guidelines. They're there for a reason, and it can be very black and white.
Right.
No gray area.
Try not to get into the gray area.
Right. Try not to get into the gray or let your personal feelings. It's easy when you talk to somebody on a phone and they're a great person and you really like them and they say all the right things. It's easy to get it in your head that that'd be a good fit without having seen their background yet.
Right.
So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Have you ever had an event, a safety event, that has changed how you felt about safety in general?
Yes. The one that I can remember very clearly, this is related to the employment verifications we have to run, and a big part of that is the drug and alcohol testing program. And the companies have 30 days to respond. So I one time had somebody that I'd already made a job offer to and did not have the employment verifications back yet, that's standard, but then that one came back with a failed drug test in their past. And it was at that point that I realized if I don't do that on every single job of every single driver, that I could potentially get somebody in a truck that had a failed drug test, and that's something we don't ever want to do. Mm-hmm. And fortunately, that happened real early on, and so I've known the importance of following that ever since. But it really did shape the way I did things after that. Because it was so unexpected,
Right, we have a responsibility to report accidents and injuries and failed drug screens and even drug screens that are not failures to facilitate the hiring process for other companies.
Right.
So it's a team effort within the industry. And so we want to make sure that as we're doing our part and that we hope that everybody else is doing their part.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for the safety department or operations in general to improve?
One thing I remember that made an impact on me was when Tony had showed me the crash indicators, and there was so much in that crash indicator that is beyond what you normally would think of as a crash indicator. Like, you would think that it would just be speeding and distracted driving and all those common things, but there are other things like hours of service violations and things that you start to see that when a driver feels behind the clock, their behaviors become more unsafe. And I think it would be helpful if everybody that worked here were aware of those crash indicators, and that maybe they could start to understand the bigger picture of that.
And how those little events,
Yeah.
how minor they may seem, they all seem to add up to an eventual larger event.
Right.
And those larger events are the ones we're avoiding.
Yes.
You know, we
Yeah.
understand that the minor ones happen, those things are going to happen, but eventually there's going to be a big one. And we should be able to anticipate those coming based on those indicators.
Right. Yep.
And so you're right, we do need to take a look at those. And so that's about it. That's all we got. And thank you, Leslie, so much for
You're
your
welcome.
time. And
Yep.
please feel free to come in and talk to me anytime about safety or anything else.
All right.
Thank you.
you.